Between Adam Silver and Triple H, I don't know who's coming up with the best scripts right now. There is going to be so much drama in the NBA based on the playoff matchups and the play-in matchups and the different ways that can go. First of all, the Miami Heat got to relax. I understand, like, they're a play-in team, whatever, again, but their potential matchups are pretty much all teams that they've had rivalries with at some point.
Yep.
Even if they get past the first round, it's the Sixers who they almost had a rivalry with. Then if they beat the Sixers, they're going to end up playing against the Knicks, who they had a rivalry 30 years ago and their fans are still like on it. But there's this whole thing where like they're trying to make Bam Adebayo out to be the Undertaker or something. That's a whole thing. So it's going to be a lot of animosity among the fan bases if that happens. It could be the Bucks, and there's going to be a lot of like the Heat got to relax. Outside of play-in, we may get – we don't even have to do that yet. In the play-in, you got the Draymond Green versus Domantas Sabonis rematch after the stomp and all that stuff. Adam Silver is in his bag right now. And I don't give Adam Silver credit for a lot of stuff.
Deservedly so.
But he's in his bag right now. And I do have to admit to myself, man, when the play-in tournament was first announced and how it was working, all that and everything – me just, I guess, not liking change at the time, I was against it. I thought it was dumb. I felt like if you earned the 8th seed or the 7th seed, you should be able to get the matchup you earned. But fuck that. Like, this is just some incredible stuff, man. When you what do y'all have on a play-in?
I'm a fan of it. I think it makes the regular season a lot more interesting. Especially the end of the season. Like we came all the way to the end of the season, last game for every team, and most of the seeds were not set in stone yet, and teams were still battling for playoff position. I still wish something could be done because it's kind of, for me, it's kind of whack that 2/3 of the team in the league are still alive. Like, I think there needs to be a way for the regular season to kill off more teams. But I think I love the tournament style. I think basketball is.
Wait.
Sorry, my dog knocked off my. I think basketball is just a sport for like a tournament style. Event. Like, you look at high school, college, every level besides the NBA, always a single game elimination, and we don't really have that in the NBA until now. Until the midseason tournament now, we have the playing tournament, and that makes it more interesting. We go into FIBA, it's single elimination tournaments when it gets down to it, and that's what basketball is at its purest. It's what one game. Single game elimination. You mess up, you lose, you go home. You have bad shooting, and that's what makes it really interesting. That's what makes a lot of people more invested into March Madness than the NBA playoffs, because it's like favorites. It's there's not enough room for variance, and that's what makes the play-in a little bit more exciting for me. It's not so much the best of series. I like a little bit more randomness in basketball.
No, yeah, absolutely. Just like you said it, like the most exciting thing about March Madness is one game, anything can happen. And typically in a series, the best team will always win, But when it comes down to one game, the worst, a team that's not better than the other team can come out on top in any given year, in any given game. So it's a high level of variance. I absolutely love the play-in. I loved it at the time. I thought it was innovative. I thought it prevented more teams from tanking, which is something that I personally don't like. So it just gives a lot of it makes everybody feel like they have a chance. And, sometimes that's for better or for worse. But I think in majority of the time, I do think Adam Silver was cooking with this one.
So you talk about everybody, well, not everybody, but more teams feel like they have a chance. And I also want to mention the play-in tournament is pretty new. And so I understand the disadvantage as far as you can get knocked out at any time, but I do think, and I thought about this recently, it's so new that we're not sure how much of a disadvantage it actually is, right? Obviously, you want to get yourself set in stone, get that week off to whether practice or rest or whatever it is. But at the same time, looking at last season alone, we know the Miami Heat went on that run from play-in to the finals, right? What doesn't get talked about is the Lakers going from play-in to conference finals.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I'm not really sure how much of a disadvantage it is to the point where I'd be too mad at it.
Yeah, it's tough because, like you said, the sample size isn't big enough. But sometimes I feel like that entire week off, while the playing is going on, is beneficial to the teams that are playing every day because they're still in a rhythm. Yeah. And we saw it last year with Miami, obviously beating Milwaukee game 1. We saw with the Lakers knocking off, being a playing team, winning the first round. And it's just something that, it's too early to tell. At the same time, we saw the complete opposite. We saw Boston absolutely dominating, in the play-in last year as well. Like it varies. That there's two sides. Denver as well. Like it is what it is. But I really, really do truly just enjoy the amount of variance. But the sample size isn't big enough for me to say if it is or if it isn't. I think personally, I do think the playing teams are at an advantage because they get one more game to fully adjust themselves or, just get acclimated. Even, maybe I'm speaking from a Heat perspective because they've had 82 games and 76 lineups. So,
well, if we look back in the 22 season, when the Heat were the 1 seed, just to go from the other side, a lot of people were saying the Hawks were picking the Hawks for the upset. And then they were saying they didn't have enough time to properly adjust because they only had a game off, a day off to prepare themselves. So that's the other thing. But I think, the regular season should matter. I think the regular season should matter. And if you're not, if you're at a disadvantage because you have you're in the play-in and you had to earn your way all the way to the end, like I don't feel like you should have the advantage. There's been some discussion about like whether the NBA should have like something to allow them to pick their opponent. Like if if Boston doesn't want to play Philly or Miami or whoever wins the or ends up in the 8th spot, they should be able to pick Orlando or whatever, or whoever's on the bottom 5 seeds. And I think that's an interesting choice. I believe hockey did that not too long ago. I don't know if they still do that, but I remember them being able to choose who their opponent was, and I think that's some rivalries would really welcome that. Like, oh, you picked us, now you got to answer to us, and if we beat y'all, we hold that over your heads forever. You don't want the smoke. Like I feel like that would be great for basketball, but I think the plan is mostly overwhelmingly a positive.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But I do want to ask, so there are set matchups aside from the play-in and all the drama that comes with. What's the most interesting matchup to y'all?
I'm gonna go out west, and I think the Clippers and Mavs. I think this is like round 3 or 4 since the bubble with those two teams, and they've had smoke for each other. We got Morris twins on the other side now, on Dallas side. But it's a matchup worth talking about. These two teams are really good, really deep, and the Clippers have had their moments of looking like an elite championship contender. Dallas has looked like a team that nobody wants to play against. You have Luka and Kyrie at the top with a lot of depth and versatility. Kids had a really good defensive season, and they have a lot of variance they can throw at teams. And this is a really interesting coaching matchup. Tyronn Lue, one of the best coaches in the league, underrated just because he's coached LeBron. But he's really good in a series. Not many coaches I would rather have than him. And then you have Kawhi, PG, James Harden, all looking to Kawhi's his legacy is pretty much set in stone. But doing it on a third team would would really cement his legacy as an all-time great. And Harden, PG, guys like that, Russ, they have still they're in the twilight of their careers, and they have something to play for and fight for. So I'm really interested in this. There's bad blood, there's talent, there's versatility. I think this series is going to go 6 or 7 for sure.
What's interesting to me about that, and obviously it's more of a hypothetical thing, and this is going to be real quick before I let Lou go. It makes me wish that we could have seen Luka versus prime James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're very similar players in the sense that James Harden wouldn't get the credit for that right now.
Right.
They're very similar players, put up very similar numbers at times when James Harden was at his peak. But that would have been interesting for me to see, but we won't see it. And I don't want to dwell on hypotheticals. So, Lou, what do you have?
No, yeah, absolutely. That's a great matchup by Frankie. My matchup is entirely based again on animosity and what it's been like this season. It is the Bucks and the Pacers.
Let's go.
The script writing again, cooking. Like he's in his own lab. He's like Edgar Allan Poe right now. I don't know what he's doing. He's on a different tier. But like, talk about two teams that have literally had ejections in 2 of the 4 games they played. It's felt like every game somebody's getting teed, 1 or 2 tees per game. A series where the Pacers have won. They won the season series. Obviously, doesn't mean shit until the playoffs is a complete different story. Clean slate 0-0. But it is something that's very interesting. From one perspective for the Pacers, it's because they're a young team. This is the first year that they were like people started to take them serious, but still, I don't think people are taking them as serious as they would like to be taken. I don't want to speak for them, but it's kind of just what it feels like. But they feel like they're that serious. They went out there, they got Siakam, obviously. And then from Milwaukee's point of view, they feel like they should be taken serious as well. Doc Rivers signing has been up and down. The Dame trade has been up and down, but they still feel like they can compete. Giannis has had probably his best season ever and is getting overlooked. Just a lot of things have gone into this season for both of these teams. The Bucks are a team that's honestly, just in terms of like age, most of their players are on the twilight of their careers, whether that be Dame, Middleton due to injuries. Unfortunately, Brook Lopez is playing phenomenal, but he's obviously up there. And the Pacers feel like the up and coming team that's fresh. So it honestly feels almost like a battle at the courtyard, like JV versus varsity, and who's going to take it. Not to say the talent level. I'm just talking about the age difference. But it's going to be a phenomenal series. Obviously, Milwaukee's at home for that one. I can't wait. I'm personally going to be tuning into every single one of those games because while Giannis has had success against the Pacers, they've never really had Siakam on the floor. Mm-hmm. So it's not to say Siakam's going to stop him, but that's definitely a player who fits the size, build, length, and athleticism that can kind of combat some of what Giannis does. So it's going to be super, super interesting. Tyrese versus Dame, like, come on. Like, that's showtime within itself. I genuinely cannot wait. And
Beverly versus James Johnson.
Oh, that might just be an MMA boxing fight. But, like, no, it's the teams hate each other so much, they signed James Johnson off the street just in case for this match. Like, realistically, like, they literally signed him because they're like, just in case we're going to get in a fight, we have somebody to throw in, but also we have somebody who can counteract Giannis. So it's going to be super great. Doc Rivers versus Rick Carlisle, 2 long tenured coaches. So it's just going to be a battle.
What about you, Kenny?
So for me, what's most interesting is the all the same reasons Lou said, the Bucks versus Pacers. But I really want to ask, because I'm not going to have anything to say that Lou didn't already say on this, but I do want to ask for each series, who would y'all have? I don't like doing predictions, but who has the advantage? Because for me personally, on the Mavs and Clippers side, I think just based on the Mavs and the way they figured things out recently, a month ago they were, a month and a half, 2 months ago, they were a pretty bad defensive team. They're the opposite right now. They figured that out. They've made the lineup change. They've started Derrick Jones Jr. and things have kind of really, we saw it as Miami Heat fans exactly how good this team can be recently. So I have them beating the Clippers because they've done the opposite to figure things out recently. And on the Pacers and Bucks side, I have the Pacers winning. because the Bucks are just not who they used to be defensively, and their defensive anchor is Brook Lopez, and I'm not sure how much that helps with the pace the Pacers play at. But I do want to go to each of y'all on who y'all think may win or may have the advantage in those series.
For the Clippers Mavs series, I feel like they both have pressure points to attack. Dallas is so dependent on Luka and Kyrie for the shot creation, but also for everybody, for creating for everybody else. And they can create transition opportunities and stuff, but their shooting isn't really like besides like Tim Hardaway, like they don't have a lot of guys who you would classify as shooters. They have guys who can hit shots. They have play finishers, guys who can knock down open shots, can get a bucket here and there. PJ Washington, I thought that was a great addition for them for just a little bit more versatile scoring. But that's it's so dependent on those two that an injury, foul trouble can really dictate a series. Clippers, I think they have a lot of veteran presence and a lot of guys who are confident in that role. I think they have the coaching advantage with Ty Lue. Not to say kid's a slouch or anything, but I just feel a lot more confident in Ty's ability, especially in a series to find a hole and just keep poking at it. But I would say like this is one of the biggest toss-up series I think we have so far. And you could make a great argument for either team. I think this series goes 6 or 7. I'm hoping for 7. I want the smoke all the way to the end for this series.
Yeah.
I'd say the upset. I'm going for the upset here. I think Dallas is going to take it just because I think they're a little healthier as is, a little bit more guys who are in their like prime right now, and they have the bodies to throw at the Clippers' best players. For the other series, the Bucks Pacers, I think the Bucks take it. I wouldn't be surprised because of Giannis's injury if the Pacers take it, but I lean a lot heavier for the Bucks just because we've seen Tyrese been slowed down with his injury, and it's really made a difference in how threatening of an offense they have. I also think Carlisle is by far the better coach.
Oh yeah.
So they have Indiana has the coaching advantage there. They can get it at a pace that Milwaukee does not want to match. But I think health is really going to be the deciding factor in that series specifically.
And Lou?
I love where you guys are both coming from. Personally, I think I'm going to pick with the harder matchup. I think the Dallas Clippers series is so difficult to just pick a winner because there are advantages for both sides. I think it's super interesting how it's basically like the new face of the NBA going up against like the guys who are in the twilight of their careers. But at one point, each of these guys was the face of like one of the faces of the league. Because, there's never really been a singular face for a while, but, Harden was the best offensive player basketball for a couple of years. Russell Westbrook, MVP, average a triple-double. We know who he is. Kawhi, like, need we say more? Paul George, also phenomenal. So, and then we have, here we got Luka. It feels like Luka against all those guys, but not just is that interesting. They're all in the same position. So we're going to see a lot of these guys get matched up. They haven't played each other since December 20th. Obviously, they don't know what these teams are completely different than what they were in December. In December, the Clippers were the best team in basketball at that point. Like they were on a burner, and Dallas has been on a burner since. So I think Dallas is going to win in 6 is going to be my guess. Ooh. If I had to pick, I think the main reason the Clippers would, I'm going to say Dallas wins in 6, but if I was to say the Clippers win that series, is because Kawhi Leonard is able to dominate the pace of the game and not Luka Doncic. That's the biggest battle. And I'm not talking about offensively. I'm talking about just in general with his defense, his secondary help, his help as when he's on the strong side or on the weak side and he's guarding the roll man and the corner guy. If that battle between him and Luka, if he tilts that battle towards him, I think Clippers take it in 6 or 7. But I got Dallas winning in 6. And for the Pacers series, I think the biggest X factor is going to be by far Miles Turner. The reason I say that is, can he stay out of foul trouble? Biggest key component. Because he can do something, he provides something for that team that no other backup five can for that team, and that's rim protection and spacing the floor. Two things which are absolutely crucial when you play a Milwaukee team. Mm-hmm. If he can keep Brook out of that paint, that just makes everybody's job easier, including Siakam's, including Tyrese's, just everybody's job, including TJ McConnell. He should have a fucking fantastic series. Him and Pat Bev off the bench is going to be
Pat Bev's starting now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but they're going to cross matchups, and just that matchup's going to be insane. But I do think I'm going to take Milwaukee, and I want to take them in 6. But again, if Milwaukee should win this series, if Giannis is healthy, if Giannis isn't healthy, then Pacers in 6. But the only reason I think the Pacers will win this series if they do manage to get it, because on the other side of the spectrum, Tyrese goes back to his old self. That Dame Tyrese matchup is a wash. Mm-hmm. And Turner wins his matchups predominantly, literally just about every single game. And we have a couple games, kind of like how Miami did last year. The extra guys have a game or two, the McConnells, the Aaron Nesmiths, like Jarris Walker, I imagine might get some run here. Some of these guys just come up, show up, and have themselves not even a game. If it's just a quarter and it wins you the quarter, it'll be crucial. But Mavs in 6, Bucks in 6.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know we're 21 minutes in. Don't worry about that. Welcome to another episode of the Playoff Foul. Subscribe. Wherever you are, subscribe. I don't need to say no more about that. Frankie, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
I'm cool. Same as always, man. Lou, how you doing today?
I'm a little hoarse. My voice is a little hoarse. Went to the Heat game. Had a blast. And it's literally, this is what we're here for, man. To talk fucking basketball. It's the most important basketball in the NBA. It's upon us now.
Playoffs.
We're gonna go ahead. Speaking of the Heat, they got the Sixers matchup. Now Joel Embiid re-aggravated his knee injury, and
unfortunately,
yeah, you hate to see that. When he was healthy, he's had a great year, and it is getting to a point with him where it's starting to just like, man, injuries are really in the way. And a guy that big and a guy that skilled, you really don't want to see that, but I'm hoping for the best because it ends up in a way that I don't really like. But let's say he is able to play. Going to be very interesting. Like I said, he's the MVP if he was able to play enough games. Tyrese Maxey has been incredible this season. Tobias Harris went off today. He kind of gets forgotten about sometimes to his own responsibility sometimes, but he's capable. He's a capable NBA player. On the other side, the Miami Heat have been injured, and they've not really had an opportunity to find continuity all season. I don't know how much of that I'm going to just give to the injuries, but I can't ignore that either. Terry Rozier and Duncan Robinson also didn't play today. Granted, Terry Rozier has been questionable recently. It could just be as the Raptors, whatever. But interesting matchup. A lot of animosity between these teams past few years, aside from last year, really. Nobody in the NBA, I don't think, guards Joel Embiid better than Bam Adebayo. But Joel Embiid shut all the way up last time they played against each other. So who knows? But I'm going to just really go to y'all in this series because the Heat have been so injured, I have no idea what to say about them.
Go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, so it's going to be a phenomenal game. It truly will be. There's pressure points for both teams to attack. We know what Philly is. We know what the Heat are. It's how well can these teams execute. They've only played one matchup where Jimmy's played all season, which was the same matchup Embiid played all season. So again, it's I say that to say, like, people are going to look at the regular season record. That shit is honestly irrelevant when it comes to playoffs.
Everybody's 0-0 when a playoff starts.
It's 0-0, and you don't run the same shit now that you're gonna in the playoffs or whatever. I think what's going to be very interesting and something that's been very, very different, even from the last time that they played the Sixers, which was less than a month ago, is the new starting line that Miami has had. A lot of this has been because of injury, but I think it fits them for the better. The reason I say that is because now they have Caleb in there as opposed to Terry. They have Caleb and Tyler as opposed to Terry and Duncan when they played. And this is no shade to Terry or Duncan, but we know they're not defensive players. Maxey had himself a fucking game, could not be contained. So I do like that tweak, Tyler leading offense, but Caleb balancing it out with the defense. So I think that's going to be the matchup to watch. Everybody's going to be focusing on Bam and Embiid, rightfully so. What does Jimmy do? I think it's what can Miami contain the Sixers to, and can Miami hit enough shots, get enough good looks against that Sixers defense, which has had answers for them all season, schematically. I'm not even talking about from personnel perspective. Schematically, they double strong. I mean, they double quick on the strong side. They force Miami to, zip, zip, zip. Miami's not really that kind of a team. Or, when they aren't that kind of a team, the offense looks sloppy. They could be that kind of team, but it's been very, very inconsistent and just sporadic, not there too much. So I think it's going to be interesting. They're playing in Philly. I don't know what that means, honestly. They've been the Heat have been a better road team than they have a home team. It's going to be a phenomenal game, but I'm looking forward to that key component of Caleb containing Maxey and the Jovic minutes. That how comfortable does Tyler look, possibly getting thrown the Batum matchup. It's going to be super, super interesting. And can the Heat swing the ball quickly enough? I don't want to say quickly enough. Can the Heat get out of their own way to win this game? That's my biggest concern.
And so me personally, not even just looking at only the Sixers, there are there's a pretty big difference between the Heat last year and this year. And so I don't want to just go with they're going to go on the same run, because they may not. But me and Lou have said before, I think on paper this is a better team, but the game isn't played on paper, so you never know.
Yep.
But I have liked Tyler Hero's playmaking since since he came back from the injury. He showed flash earlier in the season, got away from it. It got kind of rough. It was a lot of shots he probably shouldn't have taken. Then they had the film session where basically the way they worded is things were said and we're not going to tell the media. Then suddenly the defense got on track as a team and Tyler became this very capable playmaker. But also Nikola Jovic all of a sudden looking the way me and Frankie knew Nikola Jovic would look. And so that adds another dynamic for them to not be able to just be outsized. And he's not pulling down 10, 12 rebounds a game, but he's finally figured out a way to use his length on the defensive end, and it's worked out. But I'm going to go to Frankie on what he believes we may see in this game.
Man, this is one I've struggled with. A lot of people, Phillies is rightfully the favorite. They're the hotter team, winners of like their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 in a row going into this matchup. Embiid did, Embiid got banged up, but he finished that game against Orlando that they they didn't need him to beat Brooklyn for the final game of the season. Better to just give him an extra day of rest, make sure he's 100%. Philly has a lot of pressure points for that. A lot of weaponry to bother Miami's pressure points. Miami, Lou talked about the rotations against the double teams. Miami hasn't really been able to take advantage of it. We've seen Bam and Jimmy get doubled more than they have been, especially Bam, since Bam's been a starter. And Miami, he's gotten better at making reads, but Miami's really not taking advantage of it, making them pay for sending two to the ball. They're not getting open looks. They're not knocking them down. They're not attacking the basket and making something, making the defense pay for those kind of looks. And Philly has a lot of length to really bother that. They have Oubre, Batum, Kyle Lowry's not big, but he's strong. He's a good defender. And he knows this Miami Heat team and their tendencies. We saw them the last time they played against each other. Jimmy wouldn't even go at Kyle, and that's a pressure point where Miami needs him to take advantage of. Buddy Hield didn't even go off last game, and he's a threat to go off, especially at home. And him and Embiid can attack with the DHOs and take advantage of Miami's lack of size on the perimeter. Miami defensively, they can throw out with Jovic in the start lineup. They, like Lou mentioned, they have a little more size to throw in at help. It's just about how much help on the backside they can afford, how they can pressure Maxey on the pass and Kyle on the passes without getting burnt off the dribble. So, there's and Nick Nurse is a very good coach. Like we know Spo is one of the best coaches in the league, if not the best, but Nick Nurse is not a slouch. He is very good. He'll do whatever it takes to win. We've seen him throw boxing ones at teams, triangles and twos. Like he'll do something herky jerky, whatever it takes. So this should be a great matchup. I wouldn't be surprised with any result in this matter. The Heat really, I think if they can't get Duncan and Terry to play, I think this is going to be a favorite, easily a Philly favorite for the win, just because Miami doesn't have enough shooting, in my opinion, without those two guys. And we saw Kevin Love get banged up today. If he doesn't play, then that's a huge. I think this is going to be a Philly win.
Yeah, and Lou, who do you have in it?
I think it's hard to say Miami will win this game if I'm being realistic, but there's no fucking way I'm picking against my team. So Heat win by like 2 points.
Yeah, it's like again, like this Heat team, and I don't want to keep saying it because it's going to sound like an excuse, but every time they've started to figure something out, a new person got injured and it was back to the drawing board. And we're still at this point. Yep. Duncan Robinson and Terry Rozier haven't played. Kevin Love got hurt today. And it's not even something you can blame the team for, but and then we're going to really see where Jimmy Butler is also. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, because we know he usually coasts during the regular season, but he's also had moments during the season where you would expect him to be able to step up and he didn't, the last Sixers game included. And so now we'll really be able to see exactly where he is. 34 years old. I don't think he has a kind of game where he really depends on athleticism too much. It's a very slow-paced game, but his game is predicated on getting beat up. He draws a lot of fouls without flopping, and so I don't know the type of wear and tear that may have put on him, but maybe it hasn't, and he comes out and he puts up 45, and we're like, okay, playoff Jimmy's back, cool, whatever it is.
Yeah,
I love
that. I just have no real idea. Like I said, like with this Miami Heat team, I have no idea what to think of them. Yeah. We haven't seen much of Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero together. When we did, Terry Rozier was in a shooting slump that he brought with him from Charlotte, and then he couldn't miss. But Tyler wasn't passing the ball the way he has been recently. And I don't want to say he was passing the ball, but he's been making very quick and like real point guard-esque decisions. And so
he's been making plays for keeping everybody's mouth fed recently. And that wasn't something that was the case when Terry first got here.
And so my hope as a Heat fan was that once Tyler came back, they'd have that 5 or 6 games to kind of try to figure some stuff out. But then Terry went out and Duncan's been out, and it's just like you never know, man. You just have no idea.
I will say, and this is something that I had brought up on the previous podcast that I did with MHB, and that's that I don't think Miami should switch their starting lineup whatsoever, even if these guys come back. And the reason for that is I generally feel like Caleb being the 5th option on offense, which he has been recently with the starting 5, works so much better for him's favor and for Miami's favor, because they have a point of attack defender where they feel comfortable enough to throw at, it's a guard heavy league, and it's not just Philly. I'm talking about anybody in general, but in this Philly matchup, they can throw him on Maxey. And then if Terry does come back, it's like, okay, we're not rushing Terry and Tyler to play together. Terry can just be the 6th man, aka run his own unit like he literally has for majority of his career. I think it works best. And Miami's most started players at each position so far this season has been Terry at point guard, Tyler at the 2, and Jovic at the 4. Those 3 guys have not played a single minute together in the regular season. There's no way you start them in, game 1 or a playing game.
Yeah,
There's just no way.
And usually I say that stuff doesn't matter as much, but these last 2 games against Toronto, and I know Toronto's a bad team, whatever, but you use these games to figure things out, and they seem to have kind of, I don't want to say figured things out because it is Toronto, but they've caught sort of a rhythm with this lineup. Mm-hmm. And so I wouldn't want to, like you're saying, just kind of drive a wedge in that to try to get Terry in there right away. Now, if they win a couple games, or no, actually, let's say they lose, let's say they beat the Sixers, or actually, let's say they beat the Sixers, end up in the first round, and they lose a game or 2, then put Terry back in there and figure things out. But I think right now, you're absolutely right. Especially, I think Tyler Hero, I'm pretty comfortable saying he's emerged as the team's best playmaker, especially since Kyle Lowry left. And so him at point guard is pretty interesting. But what were you about to say?
No, yeah, I wouldn't say he's, it's the clear cut, but he's definitely the best one for that size that the team has.
Yeah.
So.
Of the guards, yeah.
Yeah, of the guards. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with that.
Frank, you got anything else on them?
I actually think Tyler, more so than his playmaking, I feel like his shooting is one of the bigger keys in this game, just because not specifically like his scoring in any sense, but like he's one of the few 3-point shooters that is healthy right now, and he's we've seen him against teams that drop. If he can pull Joel out, it could really open some slips for Bam on the short roll, and take advantage of his playmaking and stuff. So like I want to see him be aggressive with that shot. We've seen him sometimes hesitate, and those windows will close because of the hesitation. So I just want to see him be aggressive, not not just with the playmaking, but just hunt your shot. Like when you're in this game, like if the shot's there, take it and don't pass those up, though, because what's one of the biggest frustrations out of these Heat teams these last few years is guys will get great looks and pass them up for a bad look. And it's not a Tyler thing. This is a Heat culture thing where everyone we've seen Jimmy. How many times Jimmy's under the basket and he passes up a layup, a one-on-one layup for a contested 3-point shot. Yep. Like it's we need guys to be a little bit more selfish in that regard.
Bulls versus Hawks. Now I know these are not primetime teams, right? 9 seed versus 10 seed is what it is. But looking at the teams themselves, you have Kobe White, who I feel should be most improved player this year. They're talking about Tyrese Maxey. He's already been good. I don't like anyway.
I agree. So
Kobe White, and then you have DeJounte Murray, who's been incredible. Trae Young, who's been back. Unfortunately, Jalen Johnson's injured. We've had high praise for him on this show. But where do y'all see that game going?
This one's a toss-up for me, just because of the injuries. Atlanta's been struggling as of late, but they did get Trae back, as you mentioned. He's played the last couple games, but I don't know. They were playing so well without him, being able to size up defensively. And Chicago's a team that they have guys that throw at him. They have Caruso. And White and Jalen Green. Javonte Green. But they have wings, Javon Carter, Torrey Craig. They have guys who can be physical on the perimeter with them, and Vucevic can win you a game on the boards, can score. So there's pressure points. This is a tough matchup. I think I lean Bulls just because of the health issues that Atlanta's facing with. I feel like Jalen Johnson would be the difference here, but I trust DeMar. He's such a fucking tough shot maker, and he kind of gets up for these kind of games that are not in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I feel like him and Kobe White take him to the next play-in game.
And Lou, real quick on this game.
I think it's going to be a great matchup. Two teams that are, they've had their ups and downs, mostly downs this season. A lot of injury has attacked both teams, but they've been able to build some continuity. At least the Bulls have, which is the reason I'll lean Chicago. They've basically, we know who they are. They know who they're playing with. They have nothing else to get adjusted to. Sometimes it's all you need for a 1-game sample size is just chemistry. And I feel like they have more chemistry currently than this Atlanta team with Trae Young just coming back. With that being said, would I be shocked if Atlanta wins? Absolutely not. But as it currently stands, the books opened with Chicago as a 3.5 home favorite. So, yeah, I would probably lean Chicago to win. And again, same reason as Frankie, DeRozan gets up for these games.
Yeah.
And I personally don't think Atlanta has anybody they can throw at him to truly just counter DeRozan. I think the closest thing was obviously Jalen. Maybe DeJounte takes that matchup, but then you're leaving Kobe White with an easier one. So it's easy. And I trust Caruso, man. It's ridiculous that, like a guy who plays 20 minutes a game. I generally think he could just single-handedly win him this game, not just with his defense, but he's a big-time shot maker. He's shown it literally every time. Whenever it's a TNT game, I wish there was a way for us to get like primetime game splits. Caruso does not fucking miss, at least when it matters in most of these games. And, he's going to take the matchup personal. He's going to be defending Trae and DeJounte on the other end, and he's going to be giving them their all. So I think Chicago wins this in a close game down the stretch, probably like 111 to 104.
Yeah, I'm 100% with y'all on Chicago. I just think they have the ignitable guys. Now, granted, DeJounte Murray's a dog, and he gets up for the big moment. We've seen all season with that. He took 44 shots against the Celtics, but they needed that for the win. So I'm not mad at him for it. But you have DeMar DeRozan who's able to do that. You have Kobe White who's able to do that. We've called Alex Caruso possibly the best guard defender in the NBA, though. Mm-hmm. So whether he's matched up with Trae or with DeJounte, I don't expect either one of them to have the easiest time in the world. And unfortunately for the Hawks, with their injuries and stuff, that's kind of all you need is to take one of those guys out of the game, and that's kind of it for them. And so just real quick, I also just think Chicago has it. They could prove us wrong and choke it away and whatever it is, but I think in this one we'll end up seeing Chicago versus Miami or the Sixers in the next play-in game to determine seeding.
One last thing on it. I do think Atlanta has the coaching advantage. I think Quinn Snyder is an underrated coach. And we saw firsthand as Heat fans just how his little tweaks can affect that one game, and he threw curveballs at the Heat that they were not ready for and could not respond to, and but credit to Chicago, they're a tough team. I think them being at home and Atlanta missing Jalen Johnson is the difference here ultimately.
Yeah, I agree with you with the coaching because all due respect, I don't like disrespecting people, but and I love those Gator teams, the ones that won championships. I've mentioned it on the show before.
Yeah, crazy.
But Billy Donovan, I just don't know about him as an NBA coach, man. Like even dating back to the OKC days, and Chicago falls into the same issues those OKC teams fell into sometimes with the isolations and all that stuff. And I don't know. But I do. I say all to say I do agree that if the Hawks do win, it'll be because of the coach and the Quinn Snyder, because I do think he's just an incredible coach.
We saw it last year. Nobody picked Atlanta against Miami, and not only did they win, they shredded us.
Yeah,
realistically. So I would not be shocked.
Out west, we mentioned the matchup earlier. Warriors versus Kings. The Warriors have struggled this season, but to Golden State Warriors standards. The times I did watch this team, I did see stuff I liked. And we also do have to mention Draymond Green has just missed a ton of time because he was being Draymond. But first of all, and before we even get to the actual matchup, I fucking love Brandon Podziemski, man. And I can't wait to see him in this high-intensity environment. But I'll go to the actual teams and the matchups. What do y'all see happening in this game?
Mm. I think Golden State comes out on top. I'm gonna get right to it. I love Sacramento. I love what they've been able to do recently. What Mike Brown's been able to do, changing essentially like the culture there. But I think ultimately it's what team is healthier at this point of the season. Malik Monk being hurt, Kevin Huerter being hurt, two guys in the same position. You will not find a bigger fan of Keon Ellis than me right here. I was talking about him in group chats where people didn't know who he was during the summer league stint, and he is absolutely sensational. But it's just too much offensive firepower that you're missing. I think ultimately, talk about big games. Like, this is what this Golden State team has done. Like, it doesn't get more like, like the chemistry couldn't be any better on any other team. Curry, Draymond, you know what they're going to give you. You know what Clay's going to give you on a game like today. Their lineup switches recently, Trace Jackson, Brandon Podziemski, two rookies. I really want to see what they're going to show up and do. Can Aaron Wiggins completely shut off Keegan Murray's
Andrew?
Yeah. Who'd I said? Aaron?
Yeah, his brother.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Andrew Wiggins. Can Andrew Wiggins completely shut off the water of? Because I meant Andrew and De'Aaron, so I got to confuse of De'Aaron Fox, and as well as Keegan Murray. That's going to be something that's interesting. It's going to be a high intensity game. We know what the Sabonis Draymond matchup has been. We know what it's going to be. Teams that split the season series and two teams that can honestly probably not dislike each other anymore. It's crazy. These teams played 4 games this season, and 3 of them came down to 1 point. A 1 point game. So strap in. It's going to be a fucking great one.
And so real quick, I do want to, because I did mention the time Draymond missed, and we've mentioned this on the show before, but I think it's funny with Draymond because he makes hot-headed, bad decisions outside of basketball. On the basketball court, yes, but have nothing to do with the actual game. Within the actual game, there are not many smarter players than Draymond Green. And I understand what Steph does. I understand what Clay does as far as shooting goes and the offense and providing the scoring and all that stuff, even though Clay struggled once again to Clay Thompson standards, not in general. But Draymond kind of is that offense, just with his playmaking and with making the defense make a decision, which is what playmaking is all about, and getting those guys those looks. So I feel like that's huge. And it goes under the radar, so I just wanted to mention that real quick. But Frankie, what do you have for this game?
I think it's I'm with you guys. I think it's Golden State's to lose. I just feel like they found a lot of you mentioned Draymond, but a lot of their struggles also came down to Wiggins just not being an NBA player. Just the first like half of the season, he had like some personal issues off the court. But they had issues with Wiggins. Kuminga was kind of finding himself much better in the second half. Has had a little bit of ups and downs towards the end, but he's just a different complete weapon that wasn't available to them early on. They had injuries with Chris Paul. Podziemski's a rookie, and Trace Jackson Davis. Very talented players. I'm a really big fan of their games and excited to see what they can do. But I feel like they've kind of like found their roles, found their rotations, and like everything's clicking at the right time. And they're, of course, they're that championship caliber team, the experience, the core. This is like their last go of it. This might be potentially their last literal go of it because Clay's a free agent. And they've talked a lot at length of their honesty with it, just that they're enjoying this, and that this could be the end of the road for this championship trio. So I'm interested in seeing this game. Credit to Sacramento because they've battled all year. They're a tough team. Sabonis is all NBA caliber season. The triple doubles, double doubles, whatever it takes to win. De'Aaron Fox, another great season. Mike Brown, great. Mike Brown, and credit to Mike Brown, man, because a lot of people were not fans of Mike Brown and talked besmirch his name for the bad coaching jobs he did in Cleveland and didn't get them over the edge in LA. He wasn't ready. Coaches can improve too. as Mike Brown shows, and he's had
Yep.
a phenomenal tenure with Sacramento. Keegan Murray is another great season. Followed up his stellar rookie year. They're really good, talented. They if they won, I would not be surprised.
Right.
They're a tough team. But I think the Malik injury is just gonna be too much. They rely on him so much for creation off the bench, energy, scoring. They rely on him a lot, and the little injuries that he's taken, the Herder's taken, like those are two of their top 6-7 players right there, and that's really hard to overcome. Wouldn't be surprised because 1 game sample size, anything could fucking happen. Curry could be off, and Keegan Murray could not miss. So you never know what happens. But I would take the Golden State winning this game.
Yeah, that's no disrespect to the Kings because they've, like we mentioned, Domantas Sabonis has been incredible all year. De'Aaron Fox is De'Aaron Fox. Keegan Murray, we don't want to sleep on him ever. He could have a big game, but the injuries are just a little too much for me to just go ahead and pick him. Lakers versus Pelicans. This is interesting because I think the Pelicans are better than the play-in team. They just kind of ended up there. That could be said about pretty much any Western Conference. This conference is crazy.
I was gonna say for these 4 teams finished with 46 and 36 or better records. The Pelicans are 49 and 33 regular season record, and they're the 7th seed. That would be the 3rd seed in the East. And this is not to compare, but it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah, so basically, I just want to know what y'all have for this because I know where I'm going with it. I feel like the Pelicans are going to win this game. I just feel like they're a more complete team. And again, LeBron, you can't bet against LeBron, whatever. You can bring up his finals record. I don't care about that. That's all narratives. It happened, but I feel like it's all narratives. It's kind of hard to bet against LeBron and his IQ, and especially in this with these types of stakes. But I just feel like, man, the Pelicans, they're a complete team. And they just don't. Also, because I was about to mention Anthony Davis and not knowing what you're going to get out of him, but can you imagine the Pelicans knocking out an Anthony Davis team in the play-in?
Storylines.
It'll be
crazy. Adam Silver.
The script is there.
It's all there, but who do y'all have? And actually, just what do y'all see happening in this game?
I got the Lakers. Why? The biggest question, the biggest answer I can give is I think the size of the Lakers will bother Zion enough that they can take the game over, and their defense is, I trust it a little bit more. With that being said, if you were to ask me, who do I think is a better team? I think the Pelicans are the better team. But again, this is a 1-game sample. So anything can happen. Also, realistically, I know these teams probably aren't going to think of this, and I don't know how much this matters. I think teams would rather be the 8th seed than the 7th seed. I think they'd rather an OKC matchup than a Denver matchup. Whoever plays this game is playing for the right to get essentially bounced in the first round. The honor of getting absolutely bamboozled in the first round, more than likely, again, they could win against Denver. Anything's possible, but it's not probable. So with that being said, I hope the Lakers, and I just hope it's a great game, but I do think the Lakers are going to take it. Too much size. The Lakers are getting into rhythm. The ball has been zipping recently. They played today, and the Lakers absolutely destroyed them. I know it's a regular season, but it's they were trying. The Pelicans, it's not like the Pelicans sat everybody and were like, y'all can have it, because the Pelicans were trying to play for the right to not play this game. And the Lakers, not only did they beat them, but they said, see y'all again on Tuesday. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be super exciting. I literally think the game just comes down to how comfortable is Zion? How much can Anthony Davis and company deter Zion from getting into the paint and getting to the line? If they do that enough, That team's going to be relying on outside shooting, which again could win them the game. But I think the Lakers have something that I trust in, which is the defense, the size, and their offense has been kicking on all cylinders. If I'm being very honest, like they've gotten hot at the right time of the year.
Frankie?
Yeah, I'm picking the Lakers. Just the 1 game sample size just gives them the team with a little bit more experience in these kind of games and these situations. They went on that. You talked about them making that run into the Western Conference Finals last year out of the play-in. So this team is battle tested. This core is battle tested, and this is their second year together figuring it out. I don't think they have the coaching advantage here, but they have LeBron James, and that's enough of a mental advantage. I think the key here is going to be the turnover battle. I feel like both teams are going to want to get out and run and opportunistically. But I think whoever can control that element of the game will win this game. I think that's the biggest difference between these teams. We saw today, Lakers forced 19 turnovers, and that was the big difference here. Just being able to get out in transition. Zion is real comfortable in transition, but we know LeBron, D'Angelo, Anthony Davis, they can get some cheap buckets like that as well. So I think that's the big deciding factor. Shout out to LeBron. He's had another insane year. First player.
Did y'all see the LeBron double clutch reverse at 80 years old the other day?
80 years old.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's the first player to average 25, 8 assists, and shoot 50, 40 from the field.
Crazy.
And he's 48,000 years old.
It's crazy.
A walking
man.
fossil.
He's been in the league longer than guys like that are going to be in the NBA were alive.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
like this past draft was full of guys who were born either during or after LeBron's rookie year.
Crazy.
So it's just crazy his like longevity and being as great as he was. But I'm still stuck on the game is in New Orleans. So if Anthony Davis chooses this game not to show up and the Lakers lose, that's like attitude era, like prime WWF. Like it's man. I say all that, and we had all this episode to say credit to Adam Silver. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Playoff Foul. I'm Kenny. You can follow my social media if you want to. Kenny Smith's NBA. Don't care. Just make sure you subscribe to Playoff Foul. Frankie, where can they find you?
Frankie G _ on Twitter. Frankie with a Y.
Lou, where can they find you?
At Saucy Takes, with no spaces, a Z at the end. The sign isn't lit up because we started recording this song lit up. So.
If you like the music throughout, that's my brother Devin Spence. His Instagram is Black Glow Music. You can also download his EPs. That's it. We'll see y'all next time.